on WMSN 91.7 FM in St. Paul. The time has come. We finally have our special guest. We have Sam Graber. Welcome.
Hey, hi. Thank you for having me.
Yes, delighted. Thank you for joining. You wear so many different hats, and I'm just going to start with the one and say, how did you come to music? There's a wide... I mean, we just go so deep in so many ways, and we may end up, but...
All right, so the music hat. Let's put the
music hat on first.
I have to thank Peter Shaffer, I think is the name of the playwright, who from England, who wrote the play Amadeus. I may have the name of the playwright wrong, which is kind of embarrassing because you'll hear that I did playwriting for a brief stint in my life. But he wrote Amadeus, and it went on to become a movie directed by Milos Forman in the mid-'80s. And when I saw that, I started getting into Mozart and began to play, classically on the piano. And Mozart really had the biggest influence on me just in terms of music appreciation and then sort of how I construct and formulate, the songs and the music in my life. So while everybody was growing up listening to a lot of rock and roll and a lot of pop on the radio, I was listening to a lot of Mozart. And ultimately, when I got into rock and roll, you just hear hundreds of years later how much sort of the classical musicians have, their form and their contrapuntal approach to harmony and melody being the chief, right? How it still sticks around today, the good ones at least.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into music. Was originally influenced by the movie that came out, which was I think the best picture.
I think it. It said. Now, had you been taking piano lessons, or did you just start in the deep end and say, "I'm going to learn piano so I can play Amadeus"?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's basically what happened. And then you find out, right? Because
shooting for the stars.
Well,
awesome.
Here's what happened. Okay, so you start by going, "Oh yeah, let's learn how to play Mozart, and let's learn how to play all these classical pieces." And then you're like, but what is this going to be? Like, what is this going to be for? And then when you get into high school and all of a sudden you're playing and you turn your head and they're like, the cute girls are there and you're like, hold on. I've now found a higher purpose. That's when I started singing and getting into rock and roll and really kind of finding myself as a songwriter and as a musician and beginning to sort of move out from keyboards, because when you form your first band and there's two piano players in the band, one of us has to learn to play a different instrument, which is why I started getting into bass and playing bass while singing. Lead is kind of what I'm known for now, I guess. And that's really where it broke out into all sorts of different genres. And college and even through grad school was a ton of jazz, a ton of rock and roll, just playing all sorts of different genres, world music, polyphonic world music, and it broke out. But the origin and the impetus was really sort of in the classical form.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think we've heard. We started right with classical.
No. Yeah.
Folks who maybe had some. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And now, how you've got a new album coming out.
Yeah.
Love and Fury. Yes. And you've been playing live with this band in the last year. How did this chapter start?
So, I stepped away from live music. You mentioned kids before we went on air. I had a couple. And in 2010, 2011, it became apparent that playing music and having very little children, sort of incompatible, sort of incongruous with time management, sleep, focus, all that stuff. And I had been doing sort of a ton of jobber gigs and, evening hire gigs around town for events. And I just got to the point where I was so tired of playing cover music for, weddings and galas. And, I had a situation that occurred actually in the Minneapolis Museum of Art here one night where we had an event buyer who just wasn't happy with the way the evening went. And I thought it went very well. And I was like, why am I doing this? I got two new kids. So I stepped away and I hadn't played live music in 10 years until I got back into this iteration. So after my whole life spent with music, I walked away from it and didn't pluck a note, didn't sing a note for 10 years until coming back. And when I came back, I said, I've pretty much had a life that's focused on creative artistry and originality. So I don't want to come back into an age. I mean, I know it's mostly Minnesota, right? Not mostly Minneapolis. Mostly
right.
Minnesota.
Yeah, no,
music's
definitely.
the name of the show. And so a lot of the audience here is focused on original artists. But you have to understand that the commercial market today in town is really driven by the tribute act. There's a ton of tribute acts and tribute shows out there. And I just said, I don't want to be anywhere near that. I really want to focus on original music. So very quickly, I wrote 5 albums worth of music. So in the last
That's amazing.
year and a half, 2 years since I got back into music, I wrote 5 full albums. And Love and Fury, the album that's coming out, is the 4th of those 5 albums. So the first recorded, but the 4th of the 5. And that's all thanks to Brian Reidinger and Mark Partridge. Brian's our drummer and Mark's our guitar player. The 3 of us have only been playing together for a little over a year, but the songs never really took flight until the 3 of us began playing them live. And even preceding the Sam Graber Band coming together and Love and Fury, forming into the shape that it's in now being recorded, I actually started on a little piano and a very little amp. I'm not making this up, right down the street at Sentia Tea Shop. And I would go in on Sunday afternoons and I would set up on the side, because there's no stage.
No,
musicians there. I would just move a couple tables out of the way. And on Sunday afternoons, I would just have a teeny tiny little microphone, barely turned on, and my piano where people are like trying to make drinks. And basically, I was battling the cappuccino maker, which has this annoyingly high-pitched, shrill sound, just absolutely piercing sound. Like, okay, I have to sing over this, I have to play over this and just try to capture people's attention who are in here to study or to quickly grab, whatever frappa, mocha thingy that they're ordering. And that's what I did for 6 to 8 months. Just no signs, nothing to sell, nothing but just myself and the original music. And sometimes I'd be stopping halfway through songs like, I didn't like that lyric. Let me go back and try and sing it again. So that's really the music really got formed by the Sentia Tea Shop here down the street.
I know it well, and if you can picture any young redheaded women, they would belong to me. all of my girls would have tea there all of the time. That's jumping on into a very different deep end, because it's students. It's you must develop a thick skin and just. And how to capture the attention of folks, and when you know how to
no attention.
Yeah. I mean, when you're playing live, sometimes folks will come in and stand right in front of you on their phone, holding conversations, talking as you're playing and singing. And I wasn't doing it obviously for glory, right? No, we're not doing this for glory. We're doing it because we just want to express ourselves and communicate. We have a story to tell in our songs. And I thought, coming back from a long hiatus, let's just go out and do it for the people. And that's basically, as I said, the first 6 to 8 months, that's what it was. It was truly for the people. Just one guy, me, sitting in the corner of some, tea shop here on Grand.
Well, and for folks who don't know where it is a block and a half away from McAllister College.
Yeah.
It is half a mile from St. Thomas. It's a mile from St. K.
Yeah.
It is and then there are 4 high schools in walking distance and a junior high right across the street.
Yeah.
So you're playing for a tough crowd.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about youth, because one of the things I wanted to be very, very cognizant of when forming the music and originating the Sam Graber Band sound is, I'm not a young person anymore, and Brian and Mark, who play with me, also are not young, and I feel it's a real, real danger present if it sounds like old people trying to speak down to young people with the music. So it's like, we want to have music that has kind of that reckless abandon in its approach. Like, we don't want to sound like we're from the asset class, or that we're older, we have jobs or careers or things. It's like, we need to be young speaking to the young. And the music needs to stay young. And hopefully you got that vibe when you were listening.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
For sure.
What's interesting is when I would listen to it, you write about incidents, but not. There isn't about going back to my old hometown it's not that. It doesn't give a lot of details on how old you might be, which I think makes it kind of that universal, where it's more about the moment, the vibe of that moment, and it's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We were going for terrible for the album, so it's sounding no, it's weird.
Well, maybe
right?
you could bring up number one.
Here's what's weird, right? Like, I come from a school where, humans convene, they gather into one location live, together they collaborate and produce the sound for an album in a short period of time. Like, I just come from, obviously this is decades ago, the experience of everybody coming to the studio for a weekend. Mm-hmm. We'll all play our parts, we'll all work together, we'll start the mixing together, we'll sing live, all that, and it's done within 72 hours, 72 hours. And, times have changed, right? So since COVID, the musicians who are creating for sound recordings, everybody now has a home studio, and everybody's recording their independent parts and then submitting digitally those pre-recorded parts to a master producer / engineer who is fusing them together and sort of concocting the sound that you hear as a final. And I just wasn't prepared for that. So I thought the Sam Graber Band, since we've been stylizing these songs live over many performances, we would just come together in the studio and play it live. And Brian Reidinger, who produced the album, was like, au contraire. We're truly going to multi-track it over time and over sessions and sort of let the album build and sort of simmer and rise on its own over time. And I was like, okay, trust the process. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. And so it was different for me. And it was wonderful just to hear how the sound ended up, because I'm not so precious on, this is my vision. I really truly treat our band as a collaborative, sort of democratic, egalitarian approach effort. And the album literally was finished 2 days ago.
Yes.
2 days ago it was finished, a month before the album release show on Saturday, November 16th at Ice House.
Yes.
But I started recording my parts in July.
Wow.
So by the end of July, I'm like, where is this?
Yeah.
It's just different. Times have changed in, how sound recordings are crafted versus, when I was doing it a long time ago.
Should we play a song?
Let's play a song.
All right, let's do it. What song would you like?
So the first track on the album is called Higher. It's going to be one of the singles getting released to radio. And I think it's a really good gateway to the overall album and to the Sam Graber Band.
All right. Higher by Sam Graber Band.
Hey, it works.
Love it when it works.
Are we still on?
We're still on here.
Okay.
But not there.
But not audio. Okay. So my talking over the sound is not bad.
No.
Cool.
5 albums.
Yeah, I wrote 5 albums. Yeah, that's why when we play live, we have enough material
for 3 hours.
For 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just, I decided, I was like, I'm just going to get back and do this and have to pull a lot of, there's a lot of room for inspiration. I mean, I can talk about this.
I want to. I would
it's
just,
a lot.
I was.
Yeah, because then I can talk about the impetus behind each song and where they come from and the creative process in general.
It's great.
I know everybody has their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad you said you like the album.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I had intention of exactly.
I'm not used to seeing phones in the office.
I had planned to listen to all, then I have.
It's okay. We all.
I have a daughter's going through, I think, month 3 of a breakup. Mom, could I just talk to you? Yeah. 3 months of one same breakup. You get the mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's doing better though.
How old are your daughters?
So that one is 20, and then I have 24 and 26.
Okay, so they're out of diapers.
Yes.
Yeah, mine's 15, and every day is just like.
Girl or boy?
Girl. Yeah.
Oh God,
yeah. 15-year-old like.
Roller coaster. Yeah.
What's nice is at 15, everyone, myself included, they're so smart. You don't have to tell them anything.
Yeah, right. No, my son is cool. He's 13. He's just very laid back. So it's like, but the daughter's the daily challenge.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I have happy songs about it. Now, there's a couple that are happy songs that just reflect our relationship, but it's a daily like grind with the kids. So they're just, well, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in their 20s and they're still.
I had 3 teenage daughters at one time. If that's not living the dream, I don't know.
God.
I mean, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times, you know. It's and I was the same. It's I always say it's their job. It's their job. Because otherwise you might want them to live with you forever. I'm not there.
Now, what about you? Do you have kids? You saved yourself a.
You have helped raise a lot.
Yeah. I've got my share, but not my own. So
Okay.
I understand completely. But I probably was right there too. I was your 15-year-old daughter, for sure. My dad reminds me daily.
Yeah. So you helped raise kids?
Yes, I've worked with families a lot and have
Really?
helped. Yeah. And
You're
nephew.
Wise to the world.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I stopped like gripping the steering wheel all the time. You know, and just said, all right, if I take my hands off the steering wheel once in a while.
Yep.
You know. Anyway, yeah. So I really love the way this song turned out.
Yeah.
I
The
know.
album. You know, like I said, I just recorded my parts, then waited to hear the final. I was like, oh, this is good.
I love
Nice.
that it was like the stew that got meld and formed. You know, tastes
Yeah.
better. You get to feel more of the parts instead of it's hot and warm and fills me up. You got to get all the pieces close. I'm not good at one. It doesn't give me how many minutes, but we're close.
You're close.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can
You-
tell.
I've
I mean,
listened to it.
obviously
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can see
Yeah.
where it's.
Yeah. Oh, I love the sock.
Oh, the sock.
There,
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see
That's funny. I'm like, is that? No. Not mine.
it.
You know when you shop at Target, could
Yes.
be.
Cool.
Higher by Sam Graber Band, who is in studio.
Yay.
That is a lovely song. Tell us about it. Tell us
Yeah.
all the little things.
So the creative process for me is based on drawing from the rhythms of everyday life. You know, I've been creating in so many different formats for so long that I always just try to have, I guess, an artist's eye and a poet's heart in taking in the information from the world around and distilling it in such a way that when it gets re-expressed out to the world, or in this case the listener, it's something that is not so concrete or on the nose, but it definitely has sort of a palette, an artistic palette by which, you know, every time we either return to perform the song or somebody returns to hear the song, it might mean something different. And in this case, Higher is based on, you know, the album is called Love and Fury.
Yeah.
A little bit of a mix of both in some way. The sweetness of always trying to rise to a higher level of intimacy. But in this case, it was sort of inspired by my time with the National Weather Service, I swear, and their radio song program. So I found out that all of our weather forecasts, like if you go to the National Weather Service and you look at the 5-day or the 7-day ahead or the current meteorological conditions, it's still done by balloon. Still done by balloon.
That's awesome.
Still.
And
Twice a day. There are, I think, 96 stations around the United States. At 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. sharp every day, they launch balloons. Every day. And I didn't know this. So I, of course, went to Chanhassen's National
Oh,
Weather
sure,
Service.
yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
can I launch a balloon? And I went and I did it.
Oh,
And it's
envy.
Okay, so here's what happens: you show up and you think it's going to be all high tech, and it's really like 8th grade science experiment in the backyard. You walk to this sort of out parcel shed, and it opens up, and they have like the little helium canister and with the nozzle attached on top, and you take an actual weather balloon and you put it on top and put. I think they do helium because it's cheaper. Or maybe they do hydrogen because it's cheaper. You think
One
I
of
had
the-
to detail.
well,
Whatever. I was still astounded by that we're in the past.
Yeah.
In the present, and they attach a radiosone to it, and we go outside and we just release it, and it launches into the air, and it'll go to 90,000 feet, and that's how our weather conditions are still captured and interpolated. It was amazing, and I loved it. And the people at the National Weather Service are so cool. You know, you never think like, wait, are these real, you know, people?
Right.
No, they're authentic people that really care about the weather and care about getting it right. And we had a great time, and I hope I can go back. So anyway, like most art, it's a confluence of either observations or confluence of time and place or circumstance. And I was just thinking about elevated intimacy, and then I happened to release a balloon. And so, you know, hence the lyric that kicks the song up, you know, up and up we go like a hot air balloon. Maybe we'll always go higher. And that's how Higher came about.
I find all of that so fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, what a unique opportunity, and it's a nice memorial to that moment, as well as that fanciful kind of comes through in the song a little bit, like a little whimsical. It's probably a better word, but that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like most artists that I know around town, you know, there's that constant curiosity. Like we never rest. We're always, you know, wrestling with the unanswerable in some regard, and we're always trying to understand, you know, the world around us and the world within us at the same time, and how those two meet and marry. And so I think that constant curiosity leads to creativity, which in turn leads to something that people want to hear or something want to belong to or be a part of. I hope that's true with the music. I can't, you know, it's tough to comment on your own, you know, work. But I mean, that I think, you know, when Brian, Mark, and I come together, what we are always trying to do is create a sound that's not for us so much as it is for us and who's there listening to it. Because you know, this isn't about just so people, you know, because people don't understand us doesn't mean we're artists. We're only artists if people can understand us and want to come back and constantly be part of, you know, burrowing into deeper meanings of what it is that we're creating.
How did you choose those two as bandmates too? Just because you've waited so long, I feel like that's some serious thought.
Yeah. So I was on the corner of Lake and Hennepin just knocking on cars, stopping at red lights, begging anybody to come play with me. No. Actually, it's weird. There was a connection to Brian through a mutual friend. Brian's a big tennis player. And I had a tennis friend who said, hey, I've got this tennis friend of mine named Brian who plays drums. And in the back of my mind, I'm already wincing and groaning like, yeah, your tennis friend who plays drums. Okay. And then Brian Ridinger shows up. I'm like, oh, you're kind of like rock royalty in town. That's cool. And we immediately hit it off. And he, you know, just said, can you play a couple songs? And I played a couple songs, and he was like, I'm in. And then Mark Partridge, the guitar player, took a little longer. And I'm glad it did, because I ended up finding the right guy. He's a wonderful player. And the three of us, when we had our first couple rehearsals, were like, you know, kind of right away whether something is or isn't going to work. We're like, this could work. So it took, you know, me doing outreach and asking and auditioning for the guitar player, at least, you know, multiple guitar players, and having people over to the studio and the house, and they're like playing, and it's like, yeah, this won't work and that won't work. And then when the three of us came together, which was, like I said, a little over a year ago, it's like, okay, we've got a sound. We got something we can work with together.
And you worked on the album. Did you work collectively on the writing of the albums?
So
the five.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've written all the songs.
Okay.
And at least the mechanical composition, so the underlying composition, the technical writing of the song, meaning the lyrics, the chords, I wrote, and then of course I bring them to the band with the general idea. Because coming from, you know, also theatrical background, you learn, you never show up with something 100% finished and tell everybody, here, I've scored it, and now I'm live arranging it and just telling you, here's your part. It's really not a good way for collaborations to go. Instead, I like to invite everybody's input and never think, here's the answer. It's always like, here's the start. And that the song is its own living being thing. Right? You know, the song might have just come through me, but now I'm putting it out there to Brian and Mark. Let's get in a room together and have other people add to it. Are we in the right key? Are we in the right tempo? Do we have the right groove? You know, do we want to maybe take this in a completely different direction than where we started. And so that's how, from the mechanical composition, where I'm writing it alone, either on my piano or on my guitar, when I bring it to the band, then it just gets to the next level. And, there's been a lot of next leveling for us to basically have now 50 songs, all original, so that when we go play 3-hour shows, we're only playing original repertoire. I kind of laid down an edict early on with the group that we're not doing one cover. When we go live, we're playing original only music. And so we can do that now. We obviously, straight 90s shows, we're doing for the album release show, again, Saturday, November 16th. For the album release.
Yes.
At Ice House. Tickets now available.
Yeah.
When we do straight 90s, cool. But, 3 hours, it's tough doing that.
Yeah.
And as you've heard, the format of our music is radio rock. It's kind of like the 3:30, 4-minute radio-friendly kind of hit stylized sound. And so we don't have, 10-minute songs where we're just, quote-unquote, jamming or grooving on open changes. We put together, I think, a really nice repertoire of songs that represent Minnesota. I mean, it's all made in Minnesota music. And
Way to sneak that in.
Yeah, so there's
nice.
mostly Minnesota.
Nice.
There's mostly, but then there's all Minnesota.
That's
So,
fair. That's fair.
we're all Minnesota, and the music is just that. It's all created here.
When you initially said that you had 5 albums worth of songs, I assumed that meant you had 50 songs. And then I remembered as you were speaking that you were a playwright.
Yeah.
Do you write them album to album? Like, is each song a scene or an act in the album?
It's a great way of putting it. That's great. Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
So like every week you have themes for the show.
Yeah.
This week the theme is slow. Right.
Yeah.
So the 5 albums that I've written, each of them have a theme. Obviously the Love and Fury, the album that's recorded, has its theme. And they go sort of scene by scene, and so I write them in order. I don't have a thing where I just have a bunch of songs and then we go, let's down select from the larger domain of, songs, and we'll just pick, a subset. It's not how it works. I literally just let's go song by song.
Yeah.
Now, okay, like any good writer, there's a lot of garbage out there that I've written. Like, I don't mean to say, I've written 50 songs. I've written more than that. And there's some that are just so bad that it's just, embarrassing. I go back and look at some of them, yikes, I can't believe that I did that. But, you have to have sort of the audacity, in some ways, it's the temerity to go, okay, you're focusing on your craft.
Yeah.
And here's your theme. And now let's try to build and create sort of an oeuvre around that theme, lock it, move on to the next. So I mentioned the word, precious earlier. I think it's tough when you're constantly tinkering and tweaking with one song or one album and trying to make it perfect. It's don't do that. Just, here's what we did, here's what we created, out the door, move on to the next thing. And, the 5th album's done. I'm now starting number 6. Yeah.
And how did you decide out of the 5 to do the 4th one first?
It's a really, 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 really good question. So I started writing before Mark and Brian came together and we formed the Sam Graber Band. And this 4th album, Love and Fury, the first recorded of the band, I really, truly wrote for Mark and Brian and myself. So it's the first one that was in full written for our sound that we had really been developing. So it's not to say, we play a lot of songs off of 1, 2, and 3 that I've written, but this was the first time I want to write something that's just for Mark, Brian, and I, and that's where this came about. So when we decided, all right, we're going to record an album, which one? It's let's not go back to number 1 and try to play catch up. And by the way, people don't necessarily care. It's fun for an interview, but people aren't I'm interested in listening to one of your albums. Which one? I'm not start at the beginning. Most listeners are casual listeners, and they're is the song good? Do I relate to it? Is it pleasing to the ear? Is there a hook? They don't know the backstory. And it's weird, right? Because a lot of media today is all about the making of and behind the scenes and the backstory. I'm things prima facie should just function.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, can someone hear it and go, I'm in? And so that's why, you know, I put volume 4 on the album cover. You know, it's, you know, lower right-hand corner of the front of the album cover design. That's more for us.
Well,
and for real audiophiles. But
well, and I really like that because it especially, I mean, the one I can think of is Star Wars, you know, where they had the 2 and then there's the pre and then there's the, and I'm not a Star Wars fan, but, you know, some people are like, oh, so this is like a middle chapter. There's stuff, it does, even if it's only subconsciously, like that gets into, oh, this is just a segment of a story that I want to hear more of.
Yeah.
I think that's, speaking of want to hear more
All
of,
right.
should we play another song?
Do it. Your pick.
We got Delirious here.
Let's do it.
Delirious, Sam Graber Band.
Cool. I might grab a drink from, without bringing it in.
Actually, I'm going to do the same. So.
I love the posters out here.
I know, they're fun, aren't they?
I'll have to print some.
This is who we had last week. So they've got this extra, yeah, they've got the show this week. Oh, this week, yeah.
Yeah. That's fun. Somebody called me a couple months ago, and they said they wanted to do funds for local church. And like, how great is that?
That's money.
For like, you know, it's like old, you know, sort of inside.
Well, and this is a compilation. You know, they've got that's the art. So it's not one band. It's, you know.
What are you reading?
That is not mine. No. I'm waiting until my kid finishes Say Nothing, and then I'm reading her Say Nothing book. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So when you're not hosting the show, what are you doing outside?
I write about rural broadband in Minnesota.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I build websites and stuff, but I write about rural broadband.
Do they have
the
it?
policy? No, they don't. Good question. They don't. I mean, it's getting better, but I write about the policy and the technology of rural broadband. I should have made you guess.
I know. Would you have chosen that?
So do you have to travel?
I used to travel a lot more. I don't. Now I have enough connections, and so that's my weird. I like it.
Cool.
You know.
If you don't have to go travel, you know, to outstate.
And even when I used to get to, it's fun, you know. I mean, no one wants to go to Grand Portage in January, being fair, but everybody wants to go in July. You know, it's gorgeous. So, yeah.
How come there's no broadband in upstate Minnesota?
Because the houses are too far apart to make a business case. And then you get to Brock County or both St. Louis, Lake County, the ground is hard. It's hard so it's more expensive to put in, and you can't get as many customers per mile.
So is everybody just on their phones, just getting 5G?
Yeah, fiber is increasingly. When I first started, that nobody was. Now it's getting better, and there's a lot of money going into it in the next couple of years. So we'll see. I don't think. Yes, there you go. You don't want to get me started because I really do like what I do.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Shit, no, it's,
Yeah, you should. I mean, you should like what you do.
Is there a difference between Minnesota and other states?
Minnesota was ahead of everyone else for a while because we kind of got our acts together early.
Okay.
And it's kind of catching up, especially with all this federal money pouring in. And then, you know, Minnesota's kind of a medium size. Like Rhode Island, doesn't take long to cover them.
Mm.
You know, so it's in how rural you are and so many factors.
I have like 15 seconds
Okay.
just to let you know.
15 seconds.
15
Yeah.
seconds.
All right.
All right,
Good
I
job.
better do the call letters again.
Yeah.
Delirious by the Sam Graber Band, who we have in studio on Mostly Minnesota Music on WMCN 91.7 FM in St. Paul.
Yay.
Yay! Yay! Do you want to tell us about this song?
Yeah, so I was
Good
actually,
stories.
I was in Park City, Utah, and I happened to be driving down Main Street, and I looked, and on some of the telephone utility poles, the wires connecting them, were sneakers wrapped around, the overhanging wires.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And sure enough, as I was driving around, here in Minnesota, I'd see that too. What's going on?
Mm.
And so you go on the internet,
Oh,
because we have broadband here in town. Hey.
Yes.
So I went online and I was like, oh, it's a thing that I guess like a teen, ritual, rite of passage. It was some sort of like, if you can get your shoes up on the, the overhanging wires, you're cool. And I thought, interesting. Like I did. First off, it's better than tipping cows. Okay. So
Yes,
just in
for
terms of
sure.
safety standpoint,
For sure.
If you're just throwing shoes up, so that's where the line comes from in the song. You got me twisted like old sneakers hanging from telephone wire. Came from that, but again, it's a confluence of ideas. It's about the deliriousness, and in some cases the limerence. Limerence is a term that is denoted to how overwhelmed you can feel like at the early part of love. It's not really love, you're just kind of saturated and overwhelmed with that feeling of belonging. And so that's what the song is about, the deliriousness of falling for someone, and just the imagery that goes around with it.
Shoes on a telephone wire in Dublin means something very different.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
Oh yeah, I mean,
all right,
I mean, if you were looking to score some gear, that's where
Yeah.
you would go. I mean, and I think
Is
that's
score some gear a Dublin euphemism for something?
if you were looking for something stronger than beer,
Oh,
you could look at
Yep.
okay. Maybe that's what it means here in the United States, and
I
I
don't
just
know.
didn't dig deep enough on
I
the
think
Reddit thread.
well,
to, like, pick
and
that
it
up.
probably depends on where you are. I
Yeah.
mean, and in Minneapolis that might be the case, but between highway,
Yeah.
Maybe I should have kept hitting page down on to read more. Oh, I didn't. Okay, that's hysterical.
yeah,
Really?
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, see, this is the beauty of art. You just keep expanding,
Yeah, exactly.
widen the lens, and learn more about what it is you don't already know about yourself.
Yeah.
Funny. Okay.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it adds a depth. It adds a
that's
depth.
funny.
Yes, and now I'm going to use this as an excuse because I want to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about American Refugee.
Oh yeah.
Could you tell us about it? Because I listened to one today, and now I'm going to be listening to them all.
Which one did you listen?
I listened to the first one
Oh yeah.
because I have some dentist phobia. And I have had dental work done in different countries. So yeah. So, but tell, please explain.
Okay.
Describe, I should say.
So-
Describe.
When I got out of music and I did playwriting, I came with the dream, which was I want to be a New York produced playwright. And all I had was the dream in a laptop sitting in, the Hennepin County Library System going, okay, how do you do this? And I literally was in the back of the Ridgedale Library going, I don't have anything but a blank screen and an idea to be, I'd like to become a New York produced playwright. It took 6 years, 7 years, but then ultimately that happened. And I had, I guess, quote unquote, hit show that after New York City subsequently did a short tour of Europe and then had some follow-on productions around the United States. And I was like, okay, mission accomplished. And it was a long, long road, difficult. And once I had that happen, I'm like, I don't need to continue. I was like, it's good that my stuff still gets performed and requested and downloaded from the interwebs. And I was like, the things that made me sour on theater were just the lack of efficiency that's occurred since Shakespeare's time. And what I mean is, like back, if you wanted to put on a play in the early 1600s and you want to put on a play today, it's the same process, same steps, same human inputs, same variables, same general costs. I mean, it takes the same amount of work. So we don't have efficiency gains there, and the amount of things that have to come together, and the amount of green lights that have to be lit to go from my idea to mounting it on a stage, it's a lot. And at the same time, oh hey, podcasting, where it's like, wait, I can go out and I can just do the whole thing myself. And then people don't have to fly to New York to see a show. It's like everybody can just hear the stories in their pockets. So that's why I made the switch from theater to podcasting. And there was one friend in particular who was connected to a major media empire that had been kind of blown up on Facebook, and said, "Look, I've got an audience. If you can produce the show on forced human displacement, which was my idea, American Refugee was the show, then I've got a big audience out there that's ready to hear it." So I didn't have to worry about cultivating an audience or developing sort of the popularity. It was already sort of going to just be built into someone else's network. And that's why I did the first episode, Los Algodones, where I went to Mexico like thousands of U.S. citizens do every day. They walk across the border to get dental work done for 10 cents on the dollar as compared to 10 cents on the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
And then it started. It just basically cascaded into 2 years of, that's all I did for 2 years. And I did episodes that changed the way I view the world. I did the Water Station Project in Texas on the Mexican border, where migrants are dying still every night of dehydration trying to make a perilous crossing through Brooks County after they've come across the Rio Grande. I've told stories about what people, then some lighthearted stuff too, about like what we all did for fitness when the gym shut down during the pandemic. Because, for me, I launched the show in January of 2020.
That's right.
And then 2 months later, COVID came in. I was like, really? And so there were some episodes that I produced where I was traveling around the country. I would be literally one of 2 people on a plane flying to places. Like, I didn't stop during the pandemic. I was out there the whole time just doing episode after episode. And I still, it's still available to listen. I think it's a really powerful overall series that looks at the travails, the heartwarming moments, and the heartbreaking moments of forced human displacement in a variety of different types of situations. There's, the theme mostly Minnesota. There was a lot done about Minnesota. In many ways, the series was a love letter to Minnesota, because there's just a lot that happens in this state. Even though there's some episodes where, you can hear, but I went to the Everglades to catch the Burmese pythons at night, and there's wild stuff that happens. There's a lot of wild, crazy things that I did over 2 years. Then through that, I ended up connecting with a major social media influencer who I now produce. And so I got out of podcasting, and that's when I got out of podcasting. I was like, what's the next creative thing I'm going to do? I'm like, it's time to get back to music, because now my kids are old enough. And you think, okay, my kids are old enough, they can see me on stage playing and singing, and they come and they're like, Dad, can you drive me home? Like, they don't care.
No, they don't.
They're not into the dad rock and roll thing. They're like, you're just dad. So
was it? But had they seen you play much? Because you
never.
said, yeah,
they had never seen me play. They had never, ever, ever seen me play. They had no idea. And so then we take the stage, and they're like, yeah, whatever. They're teenagers.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and you are a creative mind, so they're used to you pivoting all over the place. But wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They were at first, the first time they saw, they were like, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
That's high praise.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. What else can you do, Dad? And I told him, I was like, I can see everything you're doing all the time.
Eyes in the back of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so that anyway, it was through the American refugee work and that I transitioned back into playing music.
I'm glad that you could sneak it over. But thank you so much, because I don't listen to many podcasts, but I'm going to add yours to The Guilty Feminist and Connect This. Those are my 3 right there. So that, it was it, and I will add a link on the website when we talk about it, because I thought it was well told story.
Thank you.
And just about things that people, it's so helpful to hear what people on the front lines are going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's very often, no matter what the story is, because you can't imagine it if, you just think about people who don't have running water. It's hard to think about that while you're brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
The things we don't think of, but.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
But now we're going to segue back to the music.
Yeah.
I'm also looking at the time. Tell us all the things about the upcoming show on November 16th. Yes.
Good. It's going to be Saturday, November 16th. We downbeat or start at 8 p.m. at Ice House.
Yes.
Minneapolis. Love the venue.
Yeah.
Really thankful to the team at Ice House for having us back for the big album release show. And tickets are now online at Ice House. Hope you can be there.
Yes.
And there'll be a lot of folks there, a lot of just fans and friends and industry will be coming out for it. So we're going to do the album release show here, and then we're going to have our National Street release date for the album in early January. But the Ice House show is sort of the kickoff for the album.
That's awesome. That's all. I am glad you said that because I thought, oh, that must have been an okay. I did see that correctly.
Yeah. So
I think it should be a good night, and I mean the Ice House is such a. I always feel it's so swanky, glamorous, you know. But the food is amazing there, and yeah. We have time for one more song.
Yeah.
What would you like us to?
Let's do Cinnamon Skin.
All right. Those quiet beginnings. It's the gray hair. That's what gives me the gray hair.
Oh, you know what's funny? It's
Oh yeah, I was like,
there's supposed to be a radio version, and I don't think Ryan sent me the radio version.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, that's okay.
No, it's and even if it's just half a second,
yeah,
you're like,
you know what? I think the Ice House is a great fit. When I was listening to some of your stuff, or you can tell you have the theater background because it feels eventful or what it brought like Low Cut Connie where it's just like this high energy and you're just like it just kind of was zapping all over. I think that's a great choice, and I think a live show with you guys will be way cool. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but you can tell in your writing that there's a theater.
Thank you.
I don't know how, but it comes through.
Because one of the early guitar players that I was auditioning came out, and I was like, it's gonna be rock. I think this is rock. And he's like, yeah, you got this whole musical theater vibe going on. I don't think it's rock and roll. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you it's rock and roll. And he's like, yeah, I think you're musical theater. I was like, oh, interesting. And then we never really talked again.
I don't, but I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. It just fills the room. And it's more complete. It's not like you hear one lyric or whatever. It's the whole.
There's a polish that you don't hear on the grungier sound. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's a bad thing. It just feels more full.
Cool.
If that makes any sense when you listen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, I wouldn't say a theater vibe, but it just.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's very kind.
Yeah, I'm not the guitarist.
No.
I don't have the thing, but I don't know. You can hear it, just like Kiss the Tiger, how she.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I got.
For sure.
Yeah, you can just hear, and your music has it. It's something that's in you that you give the listener. Yeah.
Cool.
I can get out of your way.
Well, I'm gonna be business for a minute, so we can finish this and then say goodbye because I said I like to give 5-10 minutes. We'll just thank you and then we'll go back into slow music.
And I'll follow up and get you tickets.
Thank you. Yeah, I gotta make sure I have a kid moving home from Ireland, but at the end of the month, so we may be going to see her sister. But anyways, just let me know, or I'll.
Yeah, for sure.
Because first thing she's gonna do is hang out with her mom.
You never know.
You never know.
I missed you so much.
Yeah. She's not even. I mean, I am not notoriously a good. I'm a terrible cook, but she's vegan. I'm like, I brought you a rock.
How long has she been in Ireland?
For a year. We lived there when she was little, and so she's spent more time. But she is coming home for, I don't know. She may move back. But
she doesn't know.
Cool.
She just got to, you get to those points where you're someplace and you're like,
I'm done.
Well, that didn't work out, that didn't work out, that didn't work out. And sometimes you got to regroup and it could work out.
Yeah.
Hopefully after the holidays. Be home for the holidays.
Cool. Well, hopefully the media that I sent ahead of time too is good. I've never done this before, and then it wasn't until connecting with Krista where she's like, "Here's the checklist." I'm like, "Really?" So I've just been working so hard on creating all of these little files there's like 80 files now in her media folder. I was like, go out and start.
Well, for me, having it on SoundCloud or anything like that is the easiest for me. But everybody's different.
Oh, you mean having the album on SoundCloud?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I meant all the other...
Yeah. No, all of the other
Like
collateral.
10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming up here really quick.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're right. Here's the end, yeah.
Love that ending. Cinnamon Skin, Sam Graber. Thank you. Thank you for coming in and talking to us about your music and a little bit the playwriting and the podcasting and all the good things. So
Well, thanks for having me. It's great.
yeah. And I'm going to talk for another minute because apparently we have a technical issue. Yes. So remind folks again about the show at the Ice House.
Yeah, so it's going to be Saturday, November 16th at Ice House on South Nicollet Ave in Minneapolis. Tickets are available online. We're going to play the album in its entirety. I don't go straight through, but we'll definitely play the cuts off the album, and so
Awesome.
people can get the album ahead of time and come knowing the songs and sing along with us. And it'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be a big fun evening for everybody.
And where can folks find you online? Because it's a little tricky because you've got so many. You have so many channels.
Well, in all the places.
Yeah, you're all the places, but you've got sort of the playwright stuff as well as the music stuff as well as you've got a couple different channels.
It's a good point. So for the band, now that the album is released, we're going to be populating throughout the Apple Music, Spotify feeds of the world, and then of course samgraberband.com.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Back to funny to say slow music by Nerdy. Yes,
Right.
we've got Waiting for Graves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Great